everyone. This is Des from According to Des, and today I am so excited. We have Jose Burgos on the show. He is the creator and founder of Spotlight Coalition and the $300 Startup Toolkit, which I have personally taken, and it's great. You are in for a real treat today. I think you will get so much value out of hearing from Jose on how to start a business. If you have been thinking about starting a business, then this is the episode for you. And let's welcome Jose. Here is my guest today, Jose Burgos. Am I saying that right? I never know how to say people's last names.
You are, and you're probably one of the few that gets it correct.
Oh,
So
okay, great.
Thank you.
Perfect. And Jose is the owner of Spotlight Coalition, a digital marketing agency, and the founder of the $300 Startup. The $300 Startup is a passion project for Jose, and it's something he's always wanted to do. He and his project rebel against the way people normally think about starting an online business or a side hustle, and it's especially for those like me who still work their 9 to 5. In his $300 Startup, the whole thing is that you don't need big budget, you don't need to raise funds or go around begging for capital. And you don't need to be held hostage by a tech guy, which is so great because that holds a lot of people back, the technology of it. You can be successful online, you can be present at home, and you could still work your 9 to 5. You have a lot going on, Jose.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I want to get right into it. So I want to know, when did you start your company, the Spotlight Coalition?
Yeah, so that was in October of 2018, and it came off of me being a bee shooter for my brother-in-law, who is running a 6-figure wedding business. He does videography.
Wow.
So before I actually met him and got to hang out with him, because we would spend all days on these shoots, I got to learn how easy it was to actually start a business, more clarity, right? Because, I was under the impression that, the 90s mentality that you needed to have a business suit and you needed to know somebody that knew somebody that, big bucks and startup funds and words like that got thrown around a lot. Although I've always wanted to have a business, I was just scared out of my boots, right? I didn't want to do anything about it. And then he showed me that, hey man, you can work a 9 to 5 and actually still make a ton of money online.
Wow. So he changed the course of your life.
You know what? I never thought about it that way. And I still talk to him every day. I'm going to have to let him know next time I talk to him. Yeah, he changed the course of my life. Yeah. At least the glasses that I had on at the time.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Wow. So what were you doing? What were your jobs and your education background? So just what led you up to this point, basically?
I grew up the bad way, right? So I grew up in low income, right? So the projects, I did the drug dealing thing. I dropped out of school in the 9th grade. The downside to all of that is everybody around me was able to see, my intelligence, right? My value. And I was the only person that was not able to see that. So that naturally just led me down just, bad avenues, bad people. And it took me a long time to bounce. So jobs, I've done, everything from fast food to warehouses. I worked in a Netflix warehouse once where it was an agency job. And they had 3 months to decide whether to keep me. They made me come in the last day for my paycheck and told me they didn't want to keep me.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So they milked me dry and I did a bunch of things. I didn't really gain stability until I met my current wife. That's when I, started working at a local hospital here in the cafeteria, one of the bigger hospitals here. And I've been there ever since. And that built stability for me and my family. We now have 4 kids. As you start to grow and as you start to, get more kids, then finances become stifling. They become harder to. So, I'm glad that I was able to bounce back from where I was before, but it wasn't an easy journey for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've had quite the adventure to get where you are.
Absolutely. It's one of those, a lot of people don't see the value in themselves until it's too late. I made it a priority, maybe in my 20s to make sure I find my value before it's too late.
Wow.
But yeah.
Wow, that's great. And then, where did this idea for the Spotlight Coalition come from? So you said you've always kind of wanted to own a business. So what inspired this particular business and your $300 startup?
Yeah, well, since I've quote unquote the tech guy in the house, right? In my family, I've always been the guy that wanted to install the CD burner and do things. I was the first one that showed my family, hey, you can download music illegally off the internet. And they were like, they thought I was a magician at the time. They're like, wow, this kid can do crazy things. So I was that guy. I tried to be a coder, an Android developer. Anyways, long story short, I've always loved tech, but I've always been in the avenue of tech that never gave me instant gratification. Like if you do app development, you work on these projects for years. And sometimes even when the public gets them, you still have to fix them. So you never get that gratification of good job. I learned a little bit about marketing. I started to follow Russell Brunson. I listen to a lot of Tony Robbins and things like that, although he's more mindset. But either way, I figured that I could mash my love for tech with a way to get instant gratification. And that's digital marketing, because with digital marketing, you actually see live results. Like you can see when people are opting in, you can see how much you're spending at the moment per click, per engagement. And it's sort of powerful when you see it on your end, on the dashboard, what others don't even know exists. People just think that they get advertisement for no reason, but there's a reason why you're getting that advertisement. And the better the marketer, the more he knows about you. And Yeah. So I fell in love with that aspect of it. And I started digital marketing. Spotlight Coalition.
So for our listeners, can you break down exactly what you do?
Yeah, so in Spotlight Coalition, I do lead generation for local businesses. So I work with chiropractors. I work a little bit with dentists. I worked with in the wedding niche with videographers and photographers. And it's basically just, I help them build an offer. I set up a funnel for them. And then I use Facebook to get people into that funnel to opt in. And then that's per retainer basis. So people keep me around as long as they need me. And that's what I've been doing. Now, the $300 startup was, once people started seeing that I had some success, people that I know personally, that naturally the questions came up of, hey man, how are you doing this? You still work at the hospital. How are you able to, take 2 vacations? And how is life going well? Because if you don't notice, people that are miserable seem to notice when other people are, doing well.
That is so true.
Yeah. It's like you red flag them. Like, he can't be doing good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So right.
So I got that question a lot, and I noticed over time that I was actually helping people. I was shortcutting the, what they thought was a very long process. Like, I could never own a business, impossible. And to me, the mindset was like, what do you mean? Why is it the internet has leveled the playing field? Like, we can do whatever the heck we want out here.
Right.
And that's when I started to get like, okay, I could actually show a lot of people how to do this and change a lot of lives. Like you said, like my life was changed. I went backwards. And I thought about, out of everything I've learned with Spotlight Coalition, what is the key things that I can pull out that can be used in coaching, that can be used in, photography, blogging, anything. What would somebody who wants to be online need? And I got these 6 pillars, and I played with those 6 pillars for a little while. And then my wife, she's a baker, and she was like, hey, I want an online presence. I want to figure out how I can get people. So she was my guinea pig. I don't know if that's mean. I don't know if that's mean to say, but
maybe don't tell her she's a guinea pig.
Hey, I hope she don't listen. But yeah, so I kind of just like practiced everything and applied these 6 pillars to her business, and she's doing fantastic right now. And because of these 6 pillars, and because of both of us starting our side hustles, we both still work 9 to 5s. 2019 was the best year of our lives financially.
Wow.
Yeah, we were able to take our kids to Pennsylvania. We went to the Poconos for a little bit. My wife and I, when we got married, I believe it was 7 years ago. I hope you're not listening, love. I'm terrible.
I'm going to block her from this episode.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to get killed. I believe 7 years ago, we got married and we went right to work the next day. We couldn't have a honeymoon. Yeah, so last year we finally got to go to Puerto Rico and have a long overdue honeymoon. And it was incredible. We paid off $10,000 in debt.
Oh my God.
We are literally weeks away now, about 2 weeks away from closing on our first home.
Oh my gosh. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Amazing.
Yeah. And it's just, I want to captivate this feeling for other people that think that they're stuck. You are stuck. That's not false reality, but you don't realize how fast you can get unstuck if you just have somebody guide you through it. And that's what the $300 startup is. I don't have a business plan in place like with Spotlight Coalition. I have, expenses. I have what's going out. I have what's coming in, all that. What the $300 startup is like my play money, whereas like, all right, how can I just have fun with this and actually help inspire people? And sure, at the end of it, if I get enough people, then I can offer them a toolkit, right? Or a product that can, save them headaches and save them a hard time. But ultimately get the 2019 that I had, right? Get that debt paid off, get that, vacation going on. And that's what I'm on right now. That's what I'm working on right now.
Wow. It's huge. It's huge. So you also have a Facebook group.
I do. Yeah.
And so what is your Facebook group called now? Because I think you closed the last one, right? And you have a new one, or... Yeah.
Yep. So the new one is the typical facebook.com/ so you decided to start a business.
Okay.
I think that's the link. I'll give you the link for the show notes if anything. This link is new. And the weird part about this is with Spotlight Coalition, since I was working for other clients, I never had to build my own audience. It was always like, hey, you want this result. I hope you get it. Now with the $300 startup, I have to do the nitty gritty stuff. I actually have to, be in front of the camera, which it's super uncomfortable for me. And and I have to put myself out there, and I techno babble a lot. Like I say a lot of random stuff. So I'm learning how to concise what I say and how to organize it. So to make it easier for people, and this is all new avenue to me, but I've been in digital marketing now for going on to 2.5 years or so. So it shouldn't be new, but it feels new, if that makes sense.
Right. And I think just with, you're obviously very comfortable with technology and always have been, but it just changes so much. And there's always new things. And there's always, we were saying like with algorithms and everything, just everything's changing so quick. So it's hard to keep up sometimes and learn a new thing or get comfortable with whatever the next thing is.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's for me too, even when it comes to technology. It's more, to me, it's more of an interest thing, right? Like if I were to follow all the ongoings of Facebook and the algorithm and what it's doing, then that comes at the sacrifice of knowing what Google's doing, with SEO and doing with all that. Because I can't be everywhere at once. And, that's something I struggle with because I'm one of those people that want to know everything about everything.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's the ego talking, and you got to humble yourself and realize that, hey man, you can pay somebody who really enjoys doing SEO and not kill yourself to try to learn the SEO. So I've never really been strong. I have a huge understanding of SEO, but I've never even been interested in learning more about it. Google changes that algorithm constantly, and I have no interest in that. But anyways, to sum it up, it's an interesting. I think you have to want to be interested in learning about that topic, regardless what the field is for niche.
Oh, definitely, because it's very overwhelming. So I want to break down. So I just want to say that I took the $300 startup, that I took the toolkit, and it was just phenomenal. I mean, it was so good. I learned so much that I really, honestly, I always say this to people who I've told about, and in my group I've posted it, but I need to retake it. I mean, there's so much information. You put so much information in there that it was just like, wow. I mean, it was such valuable things. It was things I've literally never even heard of before. I'm like, what is that? And you just broke things down. I like how you have the PDFs that you could download, and then you have like the stuff that you could link to, like you could copy in your Google Drive, and then you have the videos that you're talking, but your videos, you're actually showing people how you're doing it. Like you're going into, you use your wife's website for her baking, and you go in and actually like tinker and show people how to do things. You show people how to do Canva, which I always reference you because I always use Canva on my phone. I did not even know that they had more options on the website. Like I had no idea. So you taught me that. You go through the Facebook marketing and advertising and everything. It just adds, like, you really break everything down, which is so, so valuable. So I really recommend your toolkit. But can you break down, so you talk about the 6 pillars a lot, and on your Facebook group, you post things about the 6 pillars. So can you break that down for people? And I do have, Jose has very generously sent me a link to his 6-pillar checklist, and then also a webinar that you have access to when you sign up. So I'm going to put those in the show notes. But for people who are just listening right now and don't have the pillar checklist in front of them, can you break down what that is?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. Yeah. The 6 pillars, like I said earlier, I went back and looked at Spotlight Coalition. Now, I spent a lot of money on courses, and I spent a lot of money, a lot of time just kind of hiding out is what I call it, like being away from my kids, being on my laptop, trying to read stuff. First of all, I got the 6 pillars because those are the things that I think that are the fastest things to implement that pretty much set the table for everything you got. It's your online presence, it's getting paid, it's a website where your stuff can live, it's the logo that people see, it's the company name, right? It's the key things that you need. And then later on, you can add as much as you want to your company. That's the beauty of it. So I wanted to make it so basic to the sense that my wife can do it. And that's not a knock to her. I just found, like you said, that it kind of just seems like when people are out there trying to show you how to do something, they want to geek out about it, right? And I'm guilty of this, right? So they want to just, you do this, and you HTML, CSS this, and you move that back and forth. And I saw my wife get confused by this just from me doing it to her. So I wanted to make this a course that would be easily consumable because I wanted to be for my wife for sense, but I also wanted it to be concise because I paid a few $1,000s for courses that lasted, oh my God. I mean, there was no way I could get through all the content that was in there. So there's a balance because I'm sure the creator of that course was thinking, the more I give them, the more they can have, the better the value. But the more you give me, the more likely I'm not going to finish it.
So it's too overwhelming. It's too much.
It's way too much. So that was my whole going into it thing. It was like, hey, let me put a course together that's literally very easy to consume, very fast to take in. And it's proven. I've tried it in different things. But also the way I like to learn is by doing myself.
Okay.
So I didn't want to rob the user of not being able to actually learn this on their own. Because I could easily sell you a package that I do all of it for you. And if people are interested in that, then they know where to find me. But to me, it was like, if I could empower somebody, right, and teach them how to do a website one time, they'll know that skill forever. And they could even turn it into their own business of website design and, be able to turn it into something different. But the thing that I wanted to derive from that is they learned it from me. And then they can go as far as they want with that. They can never use it again. It could be a one-time thing that they never did again. But I definitely wanted it to be something that you do yourself. And if you want to have Jose do it for you, then that's a different option down the road. But this is all about education. This is all about information. And I like to empower people to do it on their own.
Great.
That's how the course was designed, for sure.
Okay. And so what are the actual 6 pillars? What are they each one called?
Yeah. So the 6 pillars all lean into one another. So you have to do one before you get to the next one. But the beauty of it is, just like the name implies, it's also a toolkit that if you need a hammer, then you get the hammer. If you need the screwdriver, you can actually grab the pieces out of it. So the 6 pillars from top to bottom is, your name, your company name, and your domain name. Those 2 things should be synonymous together. Your logo. It's your website with hosting. And I go into this big tangent that I go into on why you should host your own website.
Yeah.
That's big for me. You got to get paid correctly, because although this is fun for us, at the end of the day, we need to feed our families and we need to, provide for ourselves. So you need to get paid correctly. You need to have a Facebook business page. Why did I choose Facebook? Because that's where everybody is. Yes, people go to other apps, but the majority of the time people end up on Facebook, and it's very powerful. And then with a Facebook business page, you unlock the potential to run advertisement for your business. And then that's the very last pillar, because I've spent probably over $10,000 on Facebook courses. And the thing that I found is that it always goes back to the basics. And as long as you know the basics, you can have as much fun on the other end of it as you want. And you don't need to pay $10,000 to learn anything clever. You just need to know the basics and have fun with your audience, and it works.
Right.
So those are the 6 pillars from top to bottom.
Okay, perfect. You have your Facebook group. You also have a podcast. Yeah. So you also host a podcast. So everything you do is very educational. Yes. So you seem like you're always trying to help people. And have you always been like that growing up? Have you always had an interest in helping others? Or
I think recently, actually with the $300 startup, is sort of one of those things where it kind of like it peels the onion open. And I'm starting to think back at, why is it that I get that rush from helping people? And when I go back to even the example I gave earlier, when, my dad came home and he had no damn idea. He had the CP burner. He knew what he wanted to do with it and had no idea what he wanted this thing to do. I was always that guy that would do it for him. And it felt good to do it. It didn't feel like a job. It didn't feel like a task. It just felt like fun. I ended up getting obese, about 300 pounds. And I went on this like completely transformation where I pretty much shaved half my body weight.
Wow.
And while all that was happening and I was getting all these compliments, all I could do was just try to help people get the same thing. I was just hey, like you can do it too. And I would just give information away. Like, this is what I'm doing. These are the courses that the programs that I'm doing. This is my diet. The funniest thing that people don't believe is every single day after every single workout, I have gummy bears. And people think that people think that it's nuts. And they're like, there's no way you can do that. But if I could quickly explain why, is you lose the glycogen inside your liver when you're working out. So think about it as a battery. You start to run out of battery and you need a carb that's fast enough to spike your insulin and get that battery full again. When your glycogen is at its lowest is at 2 points, is when you wake up in the morning and after a workout, an intense workout. So it's your job before you take your protein shake or whatever it is to spike that glycogen back up so you can start to recover as fast as possible.
Gotcha. Oh, wow.
And one of the fastest way to do that is with dextrose. And Haribo gummy bears, the very first ingredient is dextrose. So I eat gummy bears. It's my favorite thing ever.
Wow.
People think I'm nuts, but it works.
Wow.
That's a fun fact.
Good tip. Yeah.
That's on a separate tangent. But the long story short is, I've always had this thing where even though people were trying to congratulate me for things, I was always on the like, can I show you how to do this? Because I think you should do it too. I think it's incredible. Mm-hmm. And that's what I do. I've always enjoyed doing this, and it's not an accident that I've gotten to this point.
Okay, so you have your business, you have the Facebook group, you have the toolkit, and you have your podcast. Ooh. So what came first? I mean, what made you want to do, you do a lot of things and you have a lot of valuable information. When did you decide, I should have a podcast. I should have a Facebook group, and I should make a toolkit. And, I just have so many questions for you. Sorry if I'm like spewing them out so quick, but so fine. How did you get into all these different things?
Well, naturally, to be a digital marketer, you have to keep up with digital marketing, whether it is that you're doing the things everything, or whether you're focused on the things that you do best, which is lead generation. What ended up happening is I started to get interested in copywriting and the psychology of being able to get somebody to purchase something. to persuade somebody to purchase something just off of what you write. Now, the best case scenario for ad copy is sales funnels. While I was doing my digital marketing, I went, headfirst into sales funnels. I went in and out. How do they work? What do they do? How am I supposed to do them? And then naturally, the best way to make sales funnels kind of work is informational products, because it doesn't require you to actually have to make like a physical shirt or a product. You don't need the cost of doing all that. You can kind of put it together and then you can sell it. So it got me really interested in doing that. So I don't know if you're aware, there's this thing that ClickFunnels does that's called the One Funnel Away Challenge.
Oh, no, I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, this is not an ad, by the way. I'm sure they would love it if I advertised them.
I'll tag them.
Yeah, I hope they give us our splits. But yeah, so it's you pay $100 and you get into this like 30-day challenge where you have to get a funnel from nothing, from the idea to conception in 30 days. Yeah, what they don't tell you is that it's nearly impossible to do. They give you the information you need, but for you to create a product in 30 days and get it all done, it's impossible. I went through this and I started building a how to create a digital marketing agency thing. Okay. Very specific. And then as I started to go through that challenge, I started to have the natural doubts of this idea isn't going to work. Nobody cares about this, even though I've paid for that 1,000 times myself. But nobody's going to want this, et cetera, et cetera. So I kind of deaded the project. I did nothing with it. I sat there for a while. And then, helping my wife do her stuff, it was like, wait a minute, I could take away the digital marketing part of this and actually nail it down to something that any business owner can use. And then that's when the $300 started coming out. Through the One Funnel Away, I learned that you need to get yourself out there. Like that's how you build traffic. So that's when the podcast came out. And boy, was I scared to do that. But the podcast came out. Oh, it's nuts. I still remember holding my phone, not a microphone. I still remember holding my phone for the very first episode and literally just shaking while I was speaking.
Oh, wow.
No idea why, because there was nobody in the room and it wasn't live. But the thing that our brain gets us to do is just insane. So yeah, and then slowly but surely, I started trying to put the next puzzle piece, the Facebook group, then the next puzzle piece, and just trying to make it an ecosystem where people can consume it the way they want to. Like I'm a big podcast guy. Some people are not. They like to be on Facebook. Yeah. If you don't want to be on Facebook, then you can go over here. But the content is still pretty much the same. It's empowerment for people that think that they're stuck. Mm-hmm. And it's information because when I was starting, even though my brother-in-law told me that you can make 6 figures online, that's kind of where he left. He didn't really tell me what to do next. Okay. I mean, he would throw in tips every now and then, like, hey, check out this website, but never actually held my hand through it. So I wanted to change that, and I wanted to do that for people, be the tech guy for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's what your toolkit feels like, and your podcast and your Facebook group is that you put out so much information and so many tips, and you really break things down, which I really appreciate, because I have the same thing. I'll ask a question and somebody answers and I'm like, I don't know what you just said. I heard words. I heard individual words, but you really break it down. It does feel like that, through the toolkit. It does feel like you're holding my hand through it and I'm not alone, and it's getting broken down. So I really appreciate that. I mean, it's so thorough. How long did it take you to make the toolkit? Because it's so thorough. It has so much information, so many videos.
Yeah, there's 2 answers to that question. The real answer, 2 months to get all the video going.
Oh, that's it? I thought you were going to say like a year or 2.
That's it. But the problem is that how long it took me to get out of my own way to start doing this stuff. Yeah, that probably took 6 or 7 months. So from idea of like, hey, this can be helpful, to hey, sit down and make these videos. Hey, sit down and do this outline. Hey, outsource the PDF that you're going to give away. All that is, I procrastinated so much. I had to overcome a bunch of fears. I had to get out of my own head. Sometimes I spend way too much time in my own head. Mm-hmm. And there's a place for that. When you're looking for stillness, you search inside your head. But if you spend too much time in there, you can get lost in there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's so true.
Yeah, that's my big thing. So, I procrastinated for a long time. And I'm definitely trying to implement things in my life to stop doing that, because I still think I do that. But I also know that it's not exclusive to me. I know a lot of people suffer from this, and I know that's common. So
so common.
That gives me a little bit of comfort knowing that, hey, I'm not just feeling this thing just because it's me. It's just something I have to overcome. I have to be courageous about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think it's most people. I think that it's ourselves that hold everything back, really.
Yeah. And I have a whole tangent on like the way we're, society, and it's just, we've been designed to basically just slave away, right? That's kind of strong. And I know that is strong, but it's kind of that mentality of like, hey, just, school trains you to just show up to work, do the work, compare yourself to others, right? The A student is not the D student. Those two people are obviously in school segregated, right? Yep. Whether a special needs class, whatever it may be. So that kind of just sets you up for a tough life if you keep following that trend, right? So if you stick to those routines, that's where the anxiety comes from, because you know that you're capable of more, right? You feel that calling, you hear it, but all your life you've just been told to do it one way. So I think people just get scared of telling that voice to be quiet and doing what they want to do.
Yeah, and that's so true. And I really liked school. I wouldn't say that I was a great student. I definitely wasn't like a straight A student. I really struggled. I did fail classes, and I really struggled with math. I failed math. I had to go to summer school, and like history I was really bad at, but I always loved school. And I just feel like in school, now that I'm in a high school and middle school, it's just so apparent that students really get equated with their grades. And it's like, if you have good grades, you're of more value than students that don't have good grades. And, even though I loved school, I did struggle in school and I did fail some classes, but some students, school is not for everybody. And like you said, you dropped out of school. Both my parents dropped out of school. And it's just, school is not for everybody. School is very hard for people. And you have to learn this certain way. I graduated and everything, but I don't know. I would imagine that people who drop out of school or decide to leave school or get a GED or just go to work or start a business or whatever, I would imagine that, society saying, oh, well, you have to get straight A's and graduate and then go to college and then you're of value. So fighting those societal messages is really hard, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would say that, when you get to the business world, it's like the A+ student is the guy with the nice business suit, right?
Right.
And then here comes Jose with a sweater, and he's the D and he's the D student. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think it's a big mistake that schools still function that way. Now, I understand that the way the schools developed was at a time where, you were to grow up and work at a coal mine, if that makes sense, right? Like they wanted to nurture you to just be that person. But they haven't done a good job, in my opinion, of course, of actually updating the framework of how schools work and that whole grading system. And I think kids suffer from that because, like you said, I have a 16-year-old and she is not, a fan of school. She has a hard time showing up to school. And even when she's in school, she just tells me, honestly, like, Dad, I just don't like being there. Now, I'm in the process of trying to teach her that it's not really so much about the school. It's about her proving something to herself. And that's that if she shows up every single day and, gives life everything that she has, she'll accomplish just by doing so.
Yeah.
She won't need to be like a super creative. She won't have to be the next Elon Musk or anything like that. She really just has to show up every morning, give life everything that she has, give it a nice punch in the face, and just keep it moving. You don't have to be an A student. You don't have to be college ready. You don't have to do any of that. But if you show up every single day, at least for me as her dad, that makes me proud enough. And I don't think many kids get that message nowadays. No. On the other hand, you get the highly competitive parent that says you have to get A+. And then on the other end of that spectrum, you get the parents that just don't care enough. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There are a lot of parents that don't care, don't want to see their kids' grades. If the kid gets a good grade, they're like, whatever, don't bother me kind of thing. So yeah, it is. It's definitely a fine balance to be like, oh, you got a D. Is that the best? Did you do your best? Okay, great. And that, it's hard.
Right.
It's hard.
And just, and being empathetic to their age, because I still remember when I was my daughter's age and, I was in the streets, right? So, and she is complete opposite. She is an awesome kid. So to me, it's like, I always try to remind myself of like, look, what I was doing at that time could have either got me killed or could have gotten me locked up in prison. And here I am in this moment with a fantastic 16-year-old that tries her hardest as much as she can. So who am I to kind of just try to rain on her parade? She's doing enough and she's showing up every single day. And I'm good with that. But, at the same time, that's working on my own mindset too, because you want your kids to do their best. You want them to be, A students. You want them to be the best track athlete. You want them to do all that. But a lot of that's just egotistical, right? A lot of that is just things that maybe I wanted to do that I never got the chance to do because I dropped out, that I want to kind of instill in her, but that might not be her avenue. So I also, as a parent, have to fall back and, check myself and realize that I got to have empathy for this girl. She's going through a lot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, you sound like a super supportive dad. That's amazing.
I try. It hasn't always been the case. I've been known as the grumpy yeller guy.
Yeah.
But my wife is the calm, quiet one, so I had to balance her out every now and then.
Oh, yeah. Oh, great.
Yeah. But I figured out that it went nowhere. And usually that's how it works in life, whether it's your kids, whether it's your coworker, your boss. The more you escalate things, nothing really gets solved. And a lot of dumb stuff gets said. And when you reflect on it, and it's rarely is it worth it. You just like, oh crap, I just burned that bridge and I got nothing for it. So
yeah, absolutely. So you do digital marketing.
Yes.
So now you have this podcast, you have your group and everything, you have your toolkit. So What obstacles do you have yourself for marketing yourself, getting members of your group, getting people to, purchase your toolkit and, listen to your podcast, join your group, participate? So what are your obstacles because you have this marketing background? I mean, is that helpful for you, or do you still struggle with that?
The parts that I struggle with are everything that's opposite to being behind the keyboard, right? So for so long, I've been doing digital marketing from a standpoint where, I represented the company. I never had to do any videos. I never had to organize information. I never had to organize my thoughts so that I don't technobabble. So I'm struggling with all that stuff, all the unknowns that I don't know. I know how to implement audience building like tactics and stuff like that, but I've never had to record a podcast, or I've never had to speak in front of the camera and do Facebook Live. Well, I keep saying technobabble because I'm the biggest technobabbler. I don't know if you know, you must, that's a screenwriter, but Hamilton? Yes.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I really,
no.
I know, I really want to see it so bad.
It's incredible. Yeah, so in Hamilton, Aaron Burr, which is Hamilton's, in the story, it's sort of like the villain, but in real life, I don't think Aaron Burr was quite the villain that he was portrayed. In the story, in the play, there's a song, and Aaron Burr basically just says to Hamilton, you have to talk less and smile more. And I think that's a critical skill that may have gotten overlooked in that song, but in life, I think I'm the guy that always has to fill in the space. Like, I can't be that guy that just sits there and listens and just kind of just thinks about it. If quiet comes around, I'm the guy that has to just say something and just throw it in there and fill it in. So that's something I struggle with. I also have to be the guy that just shut the hell up, Jose. Take it in, soak it all in, and then, portray it out. I've been doing a lot of hard work on that. I struggle with those things, the things that I didn't have to do when I was working, and I still do work with clients. But when I'm doing that stuff, I just control the dashboard, control the ads, write the copy, but it's never putting my face out there. And if the ad fails, it's never like Jose fails. It's like, oh, okay, well, that ad for that company failed. This is different. This is like, if this fails, you see my face, I fail. Completely different spectrum.
Technology obviously has just a huge impact on your life. I mean, everything you do is technological. What would happen with your business if, say, tomorrow we didn't have internet? Like, what would you do?
When it comes to marketing, thankfully, I also have a pretty good foundation on direct response marketing, which is, for anybody who doesn't know, it's pretty much the Fingerhut catalog that you guys sent to your house as a kid.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that hey, you get 27 CDs for $1. So direct response marketing is sort of like you get a list, I believe it's from, your local state office or whatever. Anyways, there's a list of people that have certain interests in certain things. So in digital marketing, that would be like a subscriber list. And then that's how Fingerhut can see that, hey, Jose and 97 of these other people enjoy music because they opted into whatever, another type of magazine. So then they would in turn get an envelope, and they would write copy on top of the envelope to get you to try to open it and send it to your house. And then the outside will be outrageous. So say something crazy like 27 CDs for 99 cents. And then what you would do is you'd be interested, you rip it open, and then you'll spill it out and send it back. So the equivalent of that nowadays is I send you a lead magnet. Hey, you want this checklist? It's really cool. I'll help you out. You opt into that list, you get your checklist, and that's the equivalent. When you put your email down, that's the equivalent of filling out the form and sending it back to me. So because I understand digital marketing, I think I could go into that and do direct response marketing and send envelopes to people's houses. But if that were all fail, I do like to write. I've always liked to write. When I was in middle school, I thought I was a poet.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh.
I think everybody in middle school thinks that they're a poet. But, I thought that I was a poet. I would write my little entries and to my girlfriends and all that stuff. And then
That's so great.
And then when I was in the street, and this is super cliche, but when I was in the street, I wanted to be a rapper. So, so I made music for a while, and technology was big in that too, because I was the guy mixing the stuff and recording the stuff. Yeah, so I did that for a little while, and then I was really good at it. People were telling me that you were really good, but I just didn't have the confidence in myself to do it. Just like, hey, a artist, let's not say a rapper, but an artist needs to be on stage. An artist needs to have their face on, CD covers at the time and stuff like that. And I was scared to do any of that stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I dropped that for a while, and I got really out of shape. That was the point where that was like the darkest period of my life. I got really out of shape. I did meet my wife, which was the only bright side there. But other than that, it was a ton of darkness and stuff. And just kept going. But to answer the original question is, if I don't do the marketing, like the direct response, I could probably be writing somewhere.
Okay.
Always wanted to write a book, but not quite there.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you built a lot of confidence in yourself over time.
Yes. A slow process, but yeah, I've kind of gotten addicted to personal development stuff.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. I hate to use the word addicted because it has a bad, the people related to bad things. But yeah, like I lost a ton of weight. I like to work on my mindset. I have rigid routines that it's a gift and a curse. So when one of the things gets slid to a different time slot or they don't happen, my day kind of becomes like muddy.
Okay.
So it's a gift because it makes me super proactive.
Yeah.
I work out at 4:30 in the morning every day. I always take time to work on, reading. I always take time to work on writing and then on my business, of course. And then at the same time, I have 4 kids. I have to be an active parent. On top of all that, I work at an operating room where I am one of 2 fellows that orders all the equipment for the surgeons.
Oh, wow.
So my room forever at work is very small. If they cancel a case, they could potentially lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. And since there's only 2 of us, yeah, it's on you, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so
it's you or you. So.
Yeah. And we have our own pod, so it's easy to tell. It's your pod. That's where it should be. I couldn't function. That I was always anxious. I was always depressed. I always had the physical fitness stuff, but that's when I was like, I got to work on this thing, right? Brain.
Yeah.
One of my favorite authors is Ryan Holiday, and he's the best way to sum up Ryan Holiday is that he kind of new age stoicism. So he made it understandable for us everyday folks, the philosophy of Stoics. And I kind of use that as my operating system for life. And
that's great.
Yeah, so now anything, Tony Robbins, anything that you throw in front of me that's self-help, I'm all over that.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Yeah.
So what advice do you have for people that have this idea they feel stuck at their 9 to 5, or in my situation, I love my 9 to 5, I love my job, but I have all these other ideas and things. So what is your advice for people who are like, oh, I'd like to start an online business? Where would you send them? What would you say to them?
What I would basically tell them is that your idea of what it takes to start a business is probably that it's difficult, that it's terrible, or that it's going to require for you to have to spend a ton of money that, let's be honest here, most of us that work a 9 to 5 don't have. We don't have that money to give up.
Yeah.
So the first thing I would tell them is forget everything that you know about starting a business and let me show you at least 6 things, because I'm perfectly okay with the person that sees the 6 pillars and says, I got this, because it is able for somebody to do alone. But I don't want the person to use their excuse of either not knowing tech or being overwhelmed by technology to say, no, 6 pillars, I want nothing to do with that. It doesn't matter. It all looks too difficult. I want them to allow them to let me show them the easy way to do it, because my wife has done it and she's not the most technical person, but just me, if I was able to go from check to check, I remember, and this is no BS, one of my pay stubs a few years ago before I started digital marketing was $37.
Oh, wow.
I have no idea how I got $37 check. Like I literally looked over the stub, like what the hell is happening that I got a $37 check?
Wow.
But it all added up. There was a bunch of things being deducted from that check. And that was like legit rock bottom for me. I mean, it was around the winter time. My wife was asking me, hey, we got to get the kids some jackets or whatever. And I had to be honest. Like, look, they're going to have to wear the same jackets because $37 ain't going to do much with these bills sitting here. So the people that are excited about doing the business, wipe your mindset, get ready to start fresh, but get ready for a fun ride because it can literally transform your life. And it will. Yeah. I'm living proof of that. My wife is living proof of that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you don't need to quit your job. Like you said, I like my job too. I don't know why people always run around with these ads saying, leave your job today. No, I like what I do.
Me too. I'm like, I don't want to leave my job. I love it.
Yeah. If anything, I just want a more padded way of living. And that's what my side hustle does. Like, I've never claimed, you can never go back on anything Spotlight Coalition and see that I claim that I'm the best digital marketer around.
Right.
Or I get a sour taste in my mouth every time I see this. Now, I know it's a tactic and I know it's awareness. But when people show their clients' numbers, like, hey, I made, $13,000 for this person. First of all, if I was the business owner being represented, I would not allow that. But second of all, it just seems cheesy to me because everybody's chasing money. But at the end of the day, it's just a more comfortable way of living, whatever that may be for you.
Yeah.
Like I paid $10,000 in debt and took 2 what I would call small vacations. And that was success to me. I was okay with that. I have no problem. I'm not going to stress myself out to go and do, some numbers that I know a lot of gurus, especially the courses I bought. Hey, set your number on $250,000 in 1 year. I mean, that's possible, but at the expense of the stress that I'm about to throw on myself and the long nights of anxiety. And I don't want to do none of that. Like I remember when I first started running my first few campaigns for clients, that was the worst month of my life because from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to bed, I was just checking results. Like, did it work? And it came at the expense of my attention, my focus. But I could tell I was being just a crappy husband, and I was being just a crappy dad, if you really want to go that deep, because I was so disappointed that certain things weren't working out that I kept mixing business with my personal life. And even at like birthday get-togethers and stuff, you would see me on like the Facebook ads manager on my phone trying to figure out. It definitely was not fun. Yeah, just try to stay away from that, I guess.
Oh my gosh, definitely. I always say my dream is like Lady Gaga money. That is what I want, but I'll be happy if I just don't have to stress about bills, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's the case for most people, and they don't know that. I actually read an interesting, I forgot the author's name, but I read an interesting book where he's given this example of the bell curve that happens when money actually stops being a thing for you. Right. He says something along the lines, and I'm kind of paraphrasing these numbers, but he's like, all right, so say you make $70K a year from your job, which by the way, that's really good nowadays.
I was going to say, I would like that.
Yeah. So his argument was basically, once you get to about 3 times that amount, I'm terrible at math, let's just say 250K just for rounding purposes. So when you get to 250K, it immediately just drops the bell curve on the satisfaction that more money brings to you.
Wow.
Yeah. So like in that 75 to 250K area, you're living your best life. I mean, you're excited.
Yes, you are.
Money's going, you're planning vacations, you're paying debt, you're buying your mama house, you're doing all this crazy stuff. Yeah. But then what ends up happening is once that bell curve hits, you actually become more depressed, right? It actually does nothing to sway. Yeah, it does nothing to improve your life, because you live better than 99% of the people in the world do at that point. Yeah. So you're basically not doing anything to like give you worth, give you any value.
Right.
So then sometimes you fall into this repetitive thing where now you want to turn 250 into 500, 500 to a million. And then it isn't till you get to like the 1 million or the 1.5 million that you figure out that your life is a shambles, right? It's a mess. Like
right.
You don't have a relationship. Yeah, you don't have a relationship with your kids, your wife. You forgot about all that in the pursuit of that money. And yeah, the bell curve. So back to what we're saying. Yeah, give me a few vacations a year. You know, give me a little bit of, my bills be paid. Yeah. And I'll still show up to my 9 to 5 with a smile on my face and keep doing what I do.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. So what is next for you? I mean, you have so much going on. You have so many great ideas. You're always helping people. Do you have any plans?
For Spotlight Coalition is more, I want to get more into the copywriting game. I'm still really huge on, human psychology and the consumer mindset. I really like that concept that you don't actively have to be there for the transaction to take place. There's something really cool about writing a really good sales copy that comes either from my heart or from my head, whichever, or a mixture of the two, that can actually talk to people while I sleep. And that's what successful copywriting does. So for Spotlight Coalition, I want to get a little bit away, like kind of outsource the lead gen, because I understand this so well that it's okay if somebody runs it for me, and focus on writing copy for people, for landing pages, for that stuff. And for the $300 startup, it's, adding more to the toolkit. I am working on a mindset product, but it's more just things that I do in my life. So it's sort of like if it fits you type thing. It's not really like a general way to keep yourself calm. It's more like what I use. But yeah, just keep adding to it, because to me, is if I keep telling and giving people the example of how people like you and people like I does, we can actually transform our lives by starting a business. I think it's only natural that they would just take the toolkit for a test ride, because that's the key. It's not for me to sell you the toolkit. That's up to you. You can do it however it is you want it. But it's for me to let you know that it is possible nowadays with the internet to do this while still working a 9 to 5, while being a parent, while being a spouse, and you can transform your life. So that's what it's about to me. And if you need my help doing it, awesome. If you just see one of my videos or read one of my posts and that gets you to get going, awesome. You don't even have to tell me. That's fantastic. I feel it's my duty and that's my calling, because I've always wanted to help people. I always have. And why not do it in this way? 2019 was an incredible year for me. I think everybody deserves Jose's 2019 is for
everybody. Yes, they do. I do. That's great.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, awesome. Jose, this has been so great. Thank you so much. So I am going to put everything in the show notes, but where do you want people to go to find you?
I'm at such a personal level right now that you can just find Jose Burgos on Facebook.
Awesome.
And just follow me and let's just conversate and let's just hang out. I do have a Facebook group. I'll give Des the actual link and you guys can show up there. That's where I do most of my value and stuff like that. I got a lot of stuff coming for that, a lot of videos, a lot of tutorials. And yeah, if you guys want to check out the toolkit, I'll give Des a link for that. There's a webinar attached to it, so you can kind of see where we're going with it. But in 2020, it's not cliche. It's more easier than ever to start a business, whether it's through affiliate stuff, whether it's your own thing, whether it's a passion project like I'm doing now. Yeah, these 6 pillars will help you get it up and going. for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. You just have such valuable information, and I will send people to everywhere you are.
Thank you for everything, Des. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Wow, I really loved talking to Jose. Is he just not full of valuable information? He has so much to teach, so much value. If I were you, I would definitely go check out his Facebook page, his toolkit, and his website. I will put all the links in the show notes and you could go check him out and follow him because he is just a wealth of information and he is so nice and so generous and loves to help people. So let's definitely support Jose. And Jose, thank you so much for being on the show today. As always, I will remind you to follow me at According to Des on Instagram and join my Facebook group. It's facebook.com/groups/According to Des. And find me on there. Please share everything that you are up to, your creations, quotes, inspiration, support each other. And feel free to message me and go to my website for all things travel, mental health, even cats, whatever. Go there and you can find a whole bunch of different stuff. And if you would like to be interviewed on my podcast, please reach out because I love hearing about everybody's journeys. Until next time.